analyzing the EU's internal challenges, alleged U.S. election interference, and NATO's role in escalating tensions with Russia. The European Union, EU, is currently facing significant internal challenges, with its leadership under Ursula von der Leyen under intense scrutiny. Accusations have emerged suggesting that this leadership, described by some as a cabal, is attempting to interfere in U.S. elections. Simultaneously, the role of NATO and its expansionist policies have pulled the EU into direct conflict with Russia, raising concerns about potential escalations and the severe consequences that EU member states might face, akin to the situation in Ukraine. Additionally, the economic impact on the EU, especially on countries like Germany, has been profound, exacerbated by soaring energy costs and industrial decline. Internal challenges within the EU. The leadership of the EU, particularly under Ursula von der Leyen, is navigating a turbulent period. Von der Leyen, who ascended to her position through the support of influential figures within the EU, is now contending with considerable dissent. Her tenure has been marked by claims of centralized control and lack of transparency, which have eroded trust among member states and citizens. One of the most significant developments within the EU is the rise of leaders like Giorgia Meloni in Italy. Meloni has shifted her focus towards prioritizing the interests of the Italian populace, challenging the EU's centralized approach. This shift represents a broader trend of nationalist and populist movements gaining traction across Europe, advocating for greater sovereignty and reduced influence from Brussels. Allegations of interference in U.S. elections. Despite its considerable influence on global economic and political matters, the EU's ability to sway U.S. voter decisions is highly questionable. Nonetheless, allegations have surfaced suggesting that EU leadership, under von der Leyen, is attempting to meddle in U.S. elections. These claims center on the idea that the same powerful entities that orchestrated von der Leyen's rise are now seeking to exert influence beyond European borders. Such allegations, whether substantiated or not, distract from the EU's critical need to address its internal problems. The focus on external interference diverts attention from pressing issues such as economic disparities among member states, the rise of populist movements, and the need for greater political cohesion. The role of NATO and escalation with Russia. NATO's expansionist policies have significantly influenced the geopolitical landscape, particularly in Eastern Europe. The incorporation of countries like Ukraine and, more recently, Finland into NATO's sphere has heightened tensions with Russia. This expansion is perceived by Russia as a direct threat, leading to increased militarization and conflict in the region. The EU, through its alignment with NATO, has found itself embroiled in this conflict. The war in Ukraine serves as a stark reminder of the potential costs of such escalations. The Ukrainian population has borne the brunt of the conflict, with devastating humanitarian and economic consequences. Similar risks loom for EU member states should tensions with Russia escalate further. Economic impact on the EU. The economic ramifications of these geopolitical tensions have been particularly severe for the EU. Countries like Germany, which once boasted robust industrial sectors, have seen their industries struggle due to the high cost of energy. The conflict with Russia has disrupted energy supplies, leading to skyrocketing prices and energy shortages. Germany's heavy reliance on Russian gas made it particularly vulnerable to these disruptions. As energy costs soared, industries faced increased production costs, making it difficult to compete globally. This situation has led to industrial decline, job losses, and economic stagnation in one of the EU's most critical economies, the U.S. and the military-industrial complex. The United States, which plays a dominant role in NATO, has been accused of sacrificing the EU for its own interests. The U.S. military-industrial complex benefits from heightened tensions and conflict as it drives demand for weapons and military equipment. This dynamic has led to criticisms that the U.S. is prioritizing its own economic gains at the expense of EU stability and prosperity. The rise of Giorgia Meloni and nationalist sentiments. Giorgia Meloni's emergence as a significant political figure highlights the growing nationalist sentiment within the EU. Meloni's approach prioritizes the needs of Italian citizens over the broader objectives of the EU, signaling a departure from the traditional EU framework. Her stance resonates with a growing number of Europeans who feel disconnected from the centralized decision-making processes in Brussels. This trend towards nationalism challenges the authority and unity of the EU. It underscores the need for EU leadership to address the concerns of individual member states and their citizens. Failure to do so could lead to further fragmentation and weaken the EU's overall cohesion. Conclusion: the EU's current leadership, particularly under Ursula von der Leyen, faces substantial challenges that require immediate attention. Allegations of interference in U.S. elections, whether founded or unfounded, only serve to distract from the pressing issues within the EU. The rise of nationalist leaders like Giorgia Meloni underscores the need for the EU to refocus on addressing internal disparities and restoring trust among its member states. Moreover, the alignment with NATO's expansionist policies and the resulting tensions with Russia pose significant risks that could have severe consequences for the EU. The economic impact, especially on countries like Germany, further complicates the situation. The high cost of energy has crippled industries, leading to economic decline. Meanwhile, the U.S. military-industrial complex benefits from these tensions, raising concerns about the true beneficiaries of NATO's policies. By prioritizing these internal challenges and re-evaluating its external alliances, the EU can strengthen its unity and better navigate the complexities of the modern political landscape.